New Age Bible versions by Gail Ripplinger criticizes the new translations in many ways, and one of them has to do with the NIV, Dr. Barker. And she says that your translation can't be trusted because of the translators that you had on the committee. She says there were homosexuals and lesbians, and she also asserts that because there were lesbians on the committee, the translation work they did, they were able to silence all of God's warnings against sodomy in the Bible. Is this true?
No, it isn't, John, and I think I can save a little time by just quickly reading what I wrote about that in the book Accuracy Defined and Illustrated on pages 123 and 124. Some have claimed that the NIV condones sodomy, that is, homosexual sins. The alleged reason for this is that some NIV translators and editors were homosexuals or lesbians. These charges have no basis in fact. Here are the facts. In the earliest stages of translation work on the NIV, namely in the early 1970s, Virginia Mollenkott was consulted briefly and only in a minor way on matters of English style. At that time, she had the reputation of being a committed evangelical Christian with expertise in contemporary English idiom and usage. Nothing was known of her lesbian views. Those did not begin to surface until years later in some of her writings, and I'll inject a parenthesis here, as she has said in the interview that you did with her, Joe, on tape, and I've heard that with my own ears. She herself has acknowledged that that did not become known or public knowledge until about the year 1983. And of course, the NIV was finished at the end of 1978. If we had known in the early 70s what became public knowledge only years later, we would not have consulted her at all. But it must be stressed that she was not a member of an NIV translation committee. She was not a translator. She was not an editor. She did not influence the NIV translators and editors in any of their final decisions. Not one. It is also asserted that the NIV allows for homosexual and lesbian practices because it translates sodomites in the King James as male shrine prostitutes in 1 Kings 14, 15, 22, and 2 Kings 23. This is simply a problem of arriving at the correct meaning of the Hebrew word kadesh, plural kadeshim, as it is in most of the passages here. Apparently, the KJV or AV translators thought it meant sodomites, that is, homosexuals, so they rendered it that way. Today, as all modern commentaries and Hebrew lexicons indicate, we know that it means male shrine prostitutes. There is also a feminine form of the same Hebrew word that means female shrine prostitutes. Such religious prostitution was a prominent feature of the pagan immoral worship of the Canaanite fertility gods and goddesses, and of course that practice is thoroughly condemned in the Bible, especially in the Old Testament. Then just this final short paragraph. Homosexual and lesbian practices are condemned just as clearly and strongly in the NIV as in any other English version. See the NIV renderings in Leviticus 18:22, 20:13, Romans 1:26 and 27, 1 Corinthians 6:9 and 10, 1 Timothy 1:10, and Jude 7.